Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Now that we are over with the command line basics as well as we have installed Python on our computer system, it's time to run our first program. So before running our first program, it's important to know that there are several different ways in which we can run our Python code. Or in other opinion, there are several different ways in which the Python code can be written, or several different techniques in which the Python code can be written. So first, let's discuss the various options for development environments. Like, there are three main types of environment in which we can write Python code and run the Python code. The first one could be you can use a text editor to write Python code. The second one could be you can use a full IDE for writing Python code. And the third one you can use would be the notebooks. In the notebook environments you can use for writing your Python code. So let's explore each one of them separately and give each one of the method some respect. So the text editors are generally some programs that can be used to edit any type of text files. That could be either .txt files, that could be either .py files, that could be either .html files. They are general purpose editors designed specifically for general purpose, and they work with variety of different files as well. So you can edit a .py or .txt file. It doesn't really matter to the text editor. It will provide some little IntelliSense as well as a little bit of color coding and other stuff as well. So, but the pros of using text editor is they are very lightweight, and you can customize them in whatever manner you want by installing different type of plugins and add-ons. So suppose you can install Atom or Sublime on your PC, or Mac, and you can just add different add-ons for Python to give you more IntelliSense on Python as well as on Django or whatever you want it to give you the IntelliSense on. But keep in mind, most of these editors are not specifically designed for Python. Like, if you are using Atom or Sublime, you are sacrificing a lot of the IntelliSense which you can get by using an IDE like PyCharm. So that would give you better IntelliSense as well as the code completion as well as different tips and tricks more better than this text editor. But that is the con of using text editor. The pro of that is that a text editor is very lightweight, also general purpose. So suppose if you are using HTML or any other language, or if you are using it for .txt, it will do better job than IDE. So that was the first method in which you can write your Python code. Now let's explore the second one, which was using an IDE. The pro side of using or the main purpose of using an IDE would be that it is a complete integrated development environment that is specifically designed for a language. Suppose if you're using PyCharm, that is specifically designed for Python, so it will give you proper IntelliSense as well as it will give you proper tips and tricks specific to Python, because it's designed keeping in mind just the Python. So it will work just for the Python. But the con side of using an IDE is that these programs are very large in terms of taking space and memory. Like, these are large programs which include everything related to Python, that is the interpreter and the IntelliSense and different kinds of other things related to Python. But the good side of using an IDE is they have a team on its back that will provide you full support as well as, and they keep on improving the editor day by day. Also, lots of different extra functionality is provided in the IDEs as well as compared to the text editor. The community version of the IDEs are free. Most of them provide the community versions for free, but if you're willing to go for a professional license, then you must have to pay for the editor. So right now in the market, the popular used IDEs for Python are PyCharm and Spider. Now coming towards the third type of environment you can use for your Python development, that is using the notebook environment. It's great for learning if you're a beginner and just getting started with Python, because you will be like the hassle of installing text editor and setting up your environment variables and installing Python on your computer system. There will be no such type of headaches to you if you're using the notebook environment. You can also see, like, the moment you enter something and just press shift and enter, you will see the output right next to your input. So that is another good side of using notebooks. It also supports inline markdown notes, as well as visualization, as well as videos and much more. Also, it does have a special file format that is not .py. In my opinion, the pro side of using a notebook environment would be you don't have to worry about your environment variables, also installing Python, also much more, like a lot of different stuff. You don't have to worry about a lot of different stuff, and you just see the moment you enter something and just press Ctrl Shift Enter, the output would be in front of you. So you don't have to write a big chunk of code and then try to run or compile. Like your output would be in front of you the moment you just write your 1 line or 2 line or whatever you want. So the popular like for this course, for the most of this course, we will be using the Jupyter Notebook for learning Python because it's easy and convenient. Later on, we will use the text editor as well as IDEs in our course, but just to get you started, we will be using the notebook environments. Just to put a quick note out there, I'm not a creepy creeperton that will ask you to use the Jupyter notebooks. It's completely your personal choice. Like development environment is completely your personal choice, and it highly depends on your personal preferences. Use whatever suits you, because you can follow this course whether you are using a text editor, whether you are using an IDE, or you are using a notebook environment. It doesn't really matter what I'm using. It matters what suits you and what you want to use. Anyway, let's get started with downloading our text editor. So for the first part of this video, or this coding train you are going with me on, I will be using the text editor to run our first line of Python code. And in the next part of this video, it would not be two separate videos. It will be this video, but in the next, I'm just saying that it will be parts so that you can understand. So in the next phase of this video, we'll be using Jupyter Notebook to run our first line of code as well. So in this video, we'll explore both of the methods, how you can write code in text editor as well as in Jupyter Notebook. So we'll be installing we have already installed the Anaconda navigator in our previous video. If you haven't installed it, link is in the description. Just go and watch that video. If you have already installed, let's install Atom Text Editor. So I've just typed Atom Text Editor in my browser, and I will just click on Atom Text Editor and then click on IO. It will auto detect that we are using Windows. If you're using Mac or or Linux, it will show you right over here, and it will also show you how to install it. You can see its documentation right over here. You can just go click on it and just read all of it. But I'm not going to read all of the documentation and stuff like that. I will just click on the download and let the Chrome do its job. So it's like 179 MBs and it will take a little bit time to get downloaded. It's the perfect time that you stop this video and download your favorite text editor and come back once you are done with it.
2,000 years later.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you did download the Atom. If you already have, just double click on the setup you have downloaded and the setup will get opened, and we'll go through each of the steps of the installation process. So let's install the Atom together. So luckily the Atom has started its installation process, and the good thing about Atom is you don't have to do anything. Like you don't even need to click next, 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 and next. It just, once you download the Atom setup and you just double click on it, it will automatically start the installation process and it will automatically install everything for you. And once the installation process is done, it will just launch the Atom in front of you. Once it's done, we will be getting started with running our first Python code.
2,000 years later.
So now that we have installed Atom text editor on our system and we are all set to create our first satellite and launch it to the space, let's get started. Wait a minute. What am I seeing right now? Are you saying me that Atom is a hackable text editor? Why am I keeping a vulnerable program on my PC that can be hacked by anyone? Well, let's shut it down. I'm just joking. Let's get started with our first program. So I'll close everything and come over here to the file and click on new file. And then press Ctrl S and save my program wherever I want to save it. So right now let's save my program on my desktop, and let's name it my first program, just for the sake of simplicity. And we'll name it and we'll add a .py extension at the end. So do note that you need to select either all files here and then add a .py extension at the end of the file name, or you can, so it's the only way you can do it in Atom, and just press save and it will save the program with my first program for you. So now that you are done with saving your program, writing the Python syntax is pretty easy. So as this is our first program and we are just getting started with Python, so let's keep things simple. Forget about launching the satellite in the space for now and just write a simple statement. So that would be print. If you're willing to print something to the console or to the CMD, you just write print for that, then open round brackets and close round brackets, and then add double quotes, and inside those double quotes you write whatever you want to echo out to the CMD. So let's just write you are coding Superman to the screen, just to make you feel a little bit better about yourself. So I'll press Ctrl S in order to save it. And for running the code, as you might know, we have already installed the Anaconda. So we'll use the Anaconda prompt for running the code, for running the Python code. You can use any CMD or any command prompt, whether that is Git or that is normal CMD on your PC. But for the sake of simplicity, let's just use Anaconda prompt, as we have already installed the Anaconda. So once the Anaconda prompt gets opened, I want to navigate to to navigate back to the root folder, and that would be cd // and press enter. And then I want to list all of the directories I have right over here. So here we do have, in all of the directories, we do have one directory that is desktop. So I want to move to the desktop. So for moving to the desktop, I will write cd desktop and press enter. And I spelled the desktop wrong, and that's it, desktop. So if you are confused what I'm doing on the CMD or this Anaconda prompt, well, we do have a complete whole 10 minutes video on how to use the command line interface. You can just go and watch that and come back later for watching this. But right now, let's just go through how can we run the Python code. So as you know, I have saved the program on my desktop. That's why I have navigated to the desktop. And now for running the Python code, I can just write Python and then the name of the program. That would be my first program.py. And just press enter, and it will run that program for you on the console. And you can see that here we are with the output. You are a coding superhero. So this is pretty much it for running your first Python code. Now you can just go crazy with these statements, and you can just write whatever you want to echo out, and whatever amount of number of times you want to echo it out to the screen. You just have to write print and then the statement you want to print to the console, and it will print that out for you. So let's just run the program once more, and you can see that everything works perfectly. So now that was the first part of the video in which I promised you to show you how to run your first Python code in text editor. So the first step was to download and install the IDE itself and then run the Python code itself. So now let's also look at how can we do the same thing using Jupyter Notebooks. So for running Jupyter Notebooks, we'll head over to Anaconda Navigator, as we have already installed the Anaconda. If you haven't already installed it, link is in the description for the tutorial or for the steps which you can take for installing the Anaconda Navigator. So you can follow that, but right now let's just use the Anaconda Navigator or Jupyter Notebooks for running our code. Okay, so once the Anaconda Navigator gets opened, just click on this Jupyter Notebook, and it will. Once you click on it, it will launch the Jupyter Notebook in your browser, whatever your default browser is. Mine is Edge, so it will open up the Jupyter Notebook in Edge. Okay, so finally we are in Jupyter Notebook. So what's all the fuss about this Jupyter Notebook? Why is everyone using this Jupyter Notebook, or why is it so popular in programmers right now? So Jupyter Notebook is a very helpful tool for learning Python. Initially, the name of Jupyter Notebook was IPython Notebooks. That's why when you save a Jupyter Notebook, when you save a notebook in Jupyter, it will give it an extension of IPYNB. You can use it for editing your current Python files, as well as you can create notebooks with it. But do note that the normal files that are created with text editor or something like that, once you double click on them, that will get open in the text editor directly. But once you create the notebook with Jupyter, it will not get opened with any text editor by default. You have to select some defaults for it first. So we created first example, I think so. Let's find it where that is. So we already created this first, my first program.py. So you can just use it. You can just use the Jupyter Notebook to edit the file, but there is no need to. Like we can use, for this kind of purpose, we can use the text editor. Text editor is enough for editing the Python file and creating new Python files. But what we really want to use the Jupyter Notebook is for creating notebooks and doing some cool stuff with it. So right now I'm at the desktop, and if I'm willing to create a new notebook, I will come over to this new and then click on this Python 2. So for you, it might be a change word, something like Anaconda or Python 3 or something like that. But initially I installed Python 2, and then later on I came to Python 3. So that's why when I installed the Anaconda, it by default stored everything with Python 2. So I'll click on this Python 2. Once I click on it, it will open up a new Jupyter notebook for me with the name of Untitled. If I'm willing to change the name of this Jupyter notebook, I will just click right above the Untitled and just name it my first notebook and press enter, and it will rename it for me. If I'm willing to run some code inside this Jupyter notebook, I will just write print the way I wrote down in the text editor, and whatever I want to print to the console. So suppose I'm willing to print "You are not that cool," and press shift and enter. You can see that it just echoed out that to the screen. So here we have the input, and here we can see its output by just pressing the shift and enter. So if you write something, like suppose you write print, this is new line, and you just press enter, it will just it will just move the cursor to the next line, and it will not run the code. But if you press shift and enter, it will run the code, and it will echo out whatever the output is in below your input. So this is a really cool new feature if you're just beginner, and if you're just willing to get started with Python. Jupyter Notebook is really a great thing for you because you can just input something and then see immediately what its output is going to be. So suppose if you mess something up, or if you miss some syntax or something like that, so it will immediately alert you that there is something wrong with your code, and you can just quickly come over here and just sort that error out in your code. One thing else the Jupyter Notebook is good for, that is writing some markdown text in front of your code, or below your code, or above your code. The only thing you have to do for writing a markdown code would be to come over here to this code and just select a markdown code. So that selected line, and I think I selected the wrong line. Let's just go to the end line, to this line, and just select it markdown to text. Now you can see that we don't have an in as well as a line number in front of that. So once we mark down a line to markdown text, now we can write simple text, like some gibberish thing for our help or something like that. If I come over here and write the same thing right over here, you can see that it will give us an error. But if we mark down a cell as markdown text and then write whatever we want to write, we can write. So this is really great for writing some notes for your future self, or something to remind you something to remind you along with your journey of learning the Python code. So it's really helpful. So this is pretty much it for this video. I hope you did learn how to take your first step in Python code. I believe it wasn't taking down some material and building a ship and launching it to the space, but this was a really great starting point for us in learning Python. I hope you are satisfied with what you have learned today. You have also installed the text editor, and you are using the Jupyter Notebook as well. So have a pleasant day. Till next time, Stay cheeky breeky, peace out.